This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the introduction of SRE. Basically, this is very important because if you are applying for any SRE position, uh, at least 3 to 4 questions they will ask you from the conceptual part of it. So the question is, what is SRE? So in SRE, if you look at this, there are three keywords. We have one is site. Site means your website, your applications. And then second one, which we have reliability. We understand that what is a reliability, and then engineering. And here when I say engineering, please understand, here we are talking about something like coding. Okay. Engineering means, let's say if you call it a software engineer, what they do? They do plan, they do code, they do test, and they do deploy, correct? So something like that we have to do in the production also. So site, which is your app, reliability, which includes availability, durability, dependability, quality over time, and probability, and so on. So what is SRE? So basically something similar to DevOps. DevOps was approach. So SRE is also an approach, but when I say not similar in terms of definition, but because DevOps is also an approach of software development, SRE is also is one approach, but for the operation. An approach to operation which uses software as the primary tool for managing system. So as part of engineering, what we do: planning, designing, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance. So yeah, so as per the Benjamin Traynor, he's the founder of Google SRE. Uh, Site reliability engineering, SRE, is what happens when you ask a software engineer to design an operations team. That means software engineer means, so you have to become a software engineer while managing the operation. So that is something which we do. So what are the responsibility of an SRE organization? So responsibility of an SRE organization, which includes availability, performance, incident management, and monitoring. So basically, if you are a part of SRE team, you need to make sure that your site is available and then performing, and you manage all the incident management and monitoring. What are the activities you do if you are a SRE team? So some of you might feel bad, but yes, you have to write a code. Yes, you have to write a code, and the code, it can be bash scripting, it can be Ansible, it can be Terraform, it can be coding for security, it can be YAML, it can be JSON. So you have to write a code, and you need to lead the war room if some incident is being reported. You need to be on call. Whatever the manual process which you have, you need to automate, and some of the best practices which we'll discuss in some time that has to be done. So primarily, what are the function of SRE team? So primarily three functions which we have of SRE team. Eliminating toil. Now the question is, what is a toil? So toil is something you do some work which is manual and which can be automated. So that is toil. At the same time, managing a risk, which includes service level like SLI, SLO, SLAs, and things like that. And after that, managing handling failures. So you must be getting lots of incident, right? Incident management and post-mortem, and that is something which we do as part of SRE. So these are the three functions which we have in SRE. So now if you want to compare, someone will ask me, okay, what is the difference between ops and SRE? So if you understand the earlier model when we had an ops team, so ops team were focusing on the reliability most of the time, and they were very scared of new changes. But at the same time, development team, they were giving a lots of new steps, new feature, bug fixes, and all. So the same business owner was asking development team, hey, give me the new feature and stuff like that. And the same team, same business team will ask SR ops team, hey, make sure that your website should be reliable. And that is where there's one culture got built where ops, the priority was reliability, and the development team, the priority was new stuff. So ops team started saying that no thanks, we don't want new changes, and we will take it up but very slow. And the development team was having lots of concern because they wanted to push lots of new changes, new feature all the time, and they wanted to speed up. That is something which we had. So there were friction between the ops team and development team many times. So if you look at this here, ops team and development team were involved with the design, development, testing, and acceptance testing. And then ops team were involved with the support, maintenance, and capacity planning. And sometimes they'll sync up between during the delivery. So thus they had different goals, different skill sets, different tools, and no common ground, so where they can collaborate. And because of that, there are so many issues which we had, very late releases and stuff like that. Bug fixes used to take a time and this that. So the some of the anatomy of the ops team which we had is like black box delivery. Yeah, when whatever you do not design the stuff. You have a very limited automation options, and most of the time you involve with the infrastructure level monitoring. Same time, if you have issues, then only you accept this and you decide whether you to go and no go. Conflict guaranteed with the dev team, and you have to manage the service level which is mandated. And reactive support means once the issue is occurred, then you do provide a support, not before that. So that was a ops team. So now we have SRE team, right? So what has happened? What changes has happened when we introduced the SRE team? So ops team earlier we had it, and now it's SRE team. So what changes has been occurred? So in terms of when you want to migrate ops team to SRE team, then what you have to do, you have to involve ops team during design and during development and during acceptance testing. And same time, SRE team, ops team need to involve development team during support and capacity planning. So that way what happens, that ops team will become SRE team. So SRE team is just an approach, I just said, right? So approach where if you are working with the during the design, development, acceptance testing, support and capacity planning together, that means you are a SRE team. If you are not working together, that means you are still a ops team, which you've been doing from last so many years. So when you have a SRE team, you have a shared goal because we work together. So I'll give you one context here. When I say you have to involve operations team during design and development, so I'm not saying like ops team will do help in terms of design and development, but they'll be involved with it. So that way they will be prepared much in advance. Okay, these are the product which dev team is designing, and these are the environments they are developing, and these are the acceptance test criteria which we need to fulfill in the operations as well. So they are much in advance, they are informed much in advance rather than last moment changes. So that way the collaboration, the approach of the collaborating on the different during different SDLC cycle, that approach is called SRE. Okay, so when you follow the SRE, you have agreed level, agreed delivery, where you involve with the ongoing design inputs, extended automation options, user focused monitoring, and again you have a full agency for support the each work, like dev team support you have it, and deployments, stop deployments, hand back to the pagers, and after the event agreed service levels and limited support time. So these are the things which we have with SRE. Now when you compare DevOps with SRE, so how can you compare? So this is one of the interview questions you may be asked actually. What is the difference between SRE and DevOps? So that is important. So let me put it in this way. Uh, if you remember that first session we had for the DevOps, so DevOps team will do everything. Here, remember, will do everything. That means the business is asking both the things for the same team. Give me the reliability and at the same time new stuff. That means in a DevOps culture, everything is working under one team. Okay, so that is a DevOps team. And so here if you see that this is the anatomy of a DevOps team, which involve with the design also, development also, testing also, acceptance test, delivery, support, maintenance, and capacity planning. Whereas it's a shared goal, overlapping skill sets, consistent tools, common basics, and so on. So see here, uh, this is the DevOps, this is SRE. This is the DevOps, this is SRE. So now did you understand that what is a SRE, all of you?
Yes.
Okay, so now you have understood what is SRE. So understand one more time I'm repeating. The SRE is an approach where ops team, when they started getting involved with the design, development, acceptance testing, and the same time development team also involved with the support and capacity planning. So the relationship when what it get built, that is become SRE team. Okay, so that is something which we have. So between SRE and DevOps, there are certain things which is a common, but again, as I stated, there's something which is SRE team is not owning the development and all stuff like that, whereas DevOps team is owning that. So yeah, what has happened? So there are two ways to migrate. Either you development team and ops team you convert into one team, and that's called DevOps team, which we discussed earlier. Or there is another approach where ops team, development team will remain development team, and ops team you want to migrate to SRE team. And that is something which we are learning today. Now, why SRE has become so popular? Uh, so SRE has become very popular because of one of the reason is like DevOps is a very good thing to have it, but most of the time if you look in the terms of practical approach, DevOps has been failed to get implementation in the organization. See, if you have a development team, testing team, and DevOps team, that means it's a failed implementation of DevOps team. So what has happened over the period of time? The integration engineer, build and release engineers, or infrastructure engineer become a DevOps engineer. But it is not the case, which I already showed you. DevOps team, which owns basically everything. So many times the organization have failed to implement the DevOps. So that is where the Google has come and see, DevOps is very good. It's a good to have it, but suddenly if you ask everyone to work as a one team under one roof, one common goal, and start doing coding, if you remember my discussion of the DevOps, so everything you can start from everyone, that is not going to work immediately. So let's do that slowly transition. Let's start asking ops team to migrate, start working with the development team, and at the same time development team you start asking to work with the SRE team, so they can start integrating, understanding the each one's problem slowly, and gradually after that, once you have SRE in function, then probably you can migrate to DevOps. So that is something which we planned, and it was suggested by Google, and that is where we are learning SRE. So now if you look at this market trend, right now we have lots of requirement for SRE compared to DevOps. But if I remember correctly, from last 10 years, we had so many openings on the DevOps. But now is SRE. Why? Because many organizations have realized that DevOps is good to have, but it's like a dream comes true. Lots of efforts you have to uh, put in, and which engineering team are not ready for that. So that is something which you have as SRE. So now you understood that why that SRE has born. What was the reason for it? All of you?
Rajesh, question.
Yes.
In a company like we do we have both the ops team as well as SRE team?
See, if you have a ops team, then there should not be SRE team. If there is a SRE team, there should not be ops team, because you can see that very clearly. Ops team has been transformed to SRE team when your team start integrating with the development initiative.
Okay. So in that case, it will be too much overhead on the SRE, right? You have to maintain the all the incidents management and everything has to be taken care. Uptime has to be taken care. In
Yes.
addition to that, your scripting and your trial management, everything has to be taken care. So that will be too much of overhead, right, on the SRE team?
Yes, there'll be, I mean, when you say overhead, I think upstream used to do the same thing, but the only thing which I feel difference here, apart, I mean, one major thing, upstream, we are not following the engineering approach. Engineering approach means any problem which you have, you plan, then code, and then test, and then deploy. But now SRE team will have to do that, and that's a part of the 12 management initiative.
Okay, okay. Yeah, because a couple of companies, what I've seen is like there is a ops team which regularly monitor and may just simply maintain the events and everything. Like if we have a run
IM
book,
team,
they will
incident
execute.
management team. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So,
and
uh,
SRE mainly focuses on like debugging and supporting the unknown
post-mortem
issues
team,
and the
post-mortem.
you know
Yeah.
patching and
So what?
everything.
Yeah, what happens? It depends on that, like uh, the anatomy of our organization. Some organization is so large they don't know how to create separate verticals and all, or maybe lack of many historical baggage or something. If they carry on, they inherit it and they don't want to change it immediately. So because of that, you see ops team, SRE team, IM team, incident management team, L1 team, L2. So because of this they inherit lots of bad practices or maybe old practices, and because of that has become. But theoretically, if you say SRE team, who's responsible for everything in the operations.
Okay, okay,
Okay,
got
so
it.
DevOps team we discuss about it. So which owns everything, whereas SRE team no need to own the part of it. So that is something which we have. Now the question is, what are the so when you have a SRE, what are the things you are going to start working on it? What are the things you're going to start working on it? And that is something which we have to discuss. So here, these are the three areas we have to start working on it. Simple. Let me put it in a simple way. One of the areas where you have to start working on it, eliminating toil. Now, toil is something like the manual work which you've been doing in as ops and SRE. Second one is managing the SLI, SLA, and SLOs. And third one is if you have any incident issues or something that need to be post-mortem properly, and then implementing the observability and so on. So these are the three function area which we have. Okay. So now, as I said, eliminating the approach, eliminating the uh, 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 toil, how can it be done? So let's understand that with these use cases. So this is one of the scenarios you may find in the during while working with operations. So what happens? You have a lots of logs. So probably you log in weekly, delete all old logs. Again, new release has come, which fill up the disk very fast. So what you did, you write a script which delete old logs and log in and run daily. But over the period of time, the servers you started getting 50 servers, let's say, scale up to 50 servers. Then what you did, you probably cron job to run script daily, and then you try to automate it. So is it ops or is it SRE? So now we will discuss whether how can it be different from now what you have. SRE is thinking in a different way. Ops is thinking in a different way. There's one more issues which you have is like to maintaining the service level. So service level maintain, new release has introduced which has brought it the bugs which cause the latency. So what you did, you increase the capacity and report issue to the development team saying that okay, these are the issues. And then again you have got one new release which you have introduced some config issues which created some outage, and then you fix the config issues and restore the services. And then from now onwards you block all the releases for the agreed periods till the system gets stabilized. So this is something which you do in order to manage the service level. Now failures, incident management or something. So now you made some DNS changes which caused the outages. So what you did, you gone into the DNS issues and fixed the issue. After that, you did the postmortem into the root cause, and then you build DNS change tool. So now these are the three example of the incident what we do in an ops team. But is it SRE? So we'll discuss in few minutes how SRE is different. So so here how can we do the automations and eliminating the toil? So the first question is, what is toil? Toil, which is a labor intensive, repetitive in nature, and that can be automatable. So any task which can be automated, that is considered to be a toil. Okay. Now, what is overhead? So overhead is something like the additional task which ops team is doing apart from the work. For example, let's say you have a team outing, team meetings, some interview process, or let's say some functions or something like that. So that is a overhead, some administrative work, which is overhead. What is the strategic work in SRE? So strategic work in SRE is something like, let's say you are planning to do something which will bring lots of values to the organization in future, not now, but it will give you the very good results later point of the time. So that's a strategic work. So these strategic includes production and readiness reviews, PRRs, early engagement, and continuous improvement. So these are the three types of work we have: toil, overhead, and strategic work. So here if you see that any team, let's say ops team, you have some work which is from the or in terms of overhead, which you cannot ignore, you have to have it. Then you have a toil, and then you have a strategic work. Now I would like you to focus on the slides right now. See that overhead you cannot ignore. Okay, toil also you cannot ignore. So what happens when you do not manage the toil properly? See here, what happens? Let it get over the period of time, your strategic work get compromised, and that is the failure sign for any team. So what you should always do, you should manage the toil. So how do we do that? So let's understand this, the same scenario. So here app is not responding, so you raise the ticket, and what you do, you log in to the server, you manually restart and it is repetitive and it can be automated. So this is something which you have a one work which is a toil. So how do we deal with it? So is it a toil? Yes, it is a toil, because if you can restart the service, even system can restart the service too. Robots can do that. So yes, what you are going to do, how you're going to address this issue? So if you are ops team, you will continue doing manually, but if you are a SRE team, you will create some strategic uh, uh, initiative and bring in the high values and something which you want to do or human can do only, not robots. So this is something which you have to bring the software engineering in the operations. So what to do? So let's say if you are SRE team, instead of doing manually, you will migrate it to container. Why container? Because that way containers, if you know that container has a automated restart capability. So if this failed, automatically they get restarted. So you don't have to do this one manually. So yes, same situation, app not responding, raise a ticket, log in into server, restart process. That was a manually. But if you are a SRE team, what you did, you moved to the container with a health check, and then now most of the issues it been taken care. Such kind of issues can be taken care. So this is an SRE approach. So moving to the container. So the bringing the strategic work is considered to be a SRE work. Now what Google suggests you should not have a toil more than 50% of your overall work. Okay. If you have a toil more than 50%, it will compromise the strategic work, and over the period of time, you may fail. Your team may fail, and you will be lost in the daily activities rather than strategic work. So this is the one. Okay, so now one of the important work for SRE is to measure the toil work, whether the toil you want to work with or not. How do we identify and measure? So identification is easy, like anything which can be automated by system, which is toil. So here if you look at this in the slides, there is one problem. If a new member is joining to your team, what you add his access to GitHub repos, you add to Azure subscription, you add to Slack channels, and you give the system some read-only access, and you give some access to the Y as a coordinator. So this you need to automate. So the first thing you need to identify and measure which are the work which can be automated, and then measure whether it is worth of automating it or not. Okay, so that is something which you have to do that. So as part of identification and measuring the toil, you need to drive through the data driven analysis, identify the toil, quantify ongoing cost. Apart from that, toil reduction backlog, you also check, prioritize this project, you want to take it up or not, work with the SRE team, and then see the progress. Also, you must do the cost benefit analysis, including objective measures of toil, effort, or elapsed time. And apart from that, you also need to identify automation projects, bringing the software engineering approach, in which includes software maintenance and updates. Build cost versus toil. So also you see that cost and budgeting and outages as well. So yes, in order to identifying automation candidate, you make sure that you analyze, document, identify whether the process is repeatable or not, and so on. So in a this way you can also see that. So in these slides, if you look at this, you have a 6 member, and each members, let's say you have a 20 working days. So overall you have got it 120 days. Out of 120 days, 50% you're going to spend on the toil management, 50% is probably you're going to spend on the strategic work or something like that. You can find out, or 40-60, it depends on your planning. Okay, so now let's say you have 3 toil which we discussed in the last discussion: onboarding toil, patching toil, provisioning toil. If you look at this onboarding toil, it will take 1 day to automate, 2 days to automate patching, and 1 day to automate provisioning. But if you look at the frequency, how many times you have to do that in a month, so you have to do 5 times the first one, 4 times in a second one, and 3 times third one. So can you tell me, if I ask you, uh, which one you should prioritize first? I mean, which one you should focus first as per your
Onboarding, right?
onboarding? Because what is the reason for it?
So maximum days per month, that's the effort it is going on.
So it's
And more
taking five
frequently,
5 days in
more,
a month.
yeah,
But
more
next one,
frequently.
but patching is taking 8 days in a month, right? You see that right now, and provisioning is taking 3 days. So if you want to plan it out, something. So which one will be faster and give you the better output? So probably second, right? 8 days, the one. 8 days you can save if you automate this patching right now. Correct now? Yeah. So now,
How it is like, it's showing only 4 days, right?
but you have a 2 days effort, no? Frequency 2 days.
Okay,
So,
per week.
so here, if you want to automate, it will take 2 days. Number of frequency 2 times you get these issues, and 4 days you are occupying that. So that means 4 days you will spend for automating this work, right? And here provisioning you will work. You see here, 4 days you will automate, whereas you got a frequency only 2 days. 5, 5, 3, 3. Depends on, like, multiple logics are there. Now, let's put it in this way. You have to estimate how much time it will take. So this is the one work which is onboarding. It will take, let's say you concluded 65 days. And number of discussions can happen. Second work you modify 40 days. And third work you concluded 10 days. One of these things which you find out in the onboarding work, there are many places where you have no API. So there's a very less way to automate it. So what to do? So now you prioritize. So first work which you had a toil of 5 days per month, but if you want to automate, it is taking you 65 days. But the second work, which is the 4 days, you have outages in the month, when that means it's consuming 4 days, and which you want to automate, it will take 40 days. And provisioning 3, which is taking 10 days. So which you will automate, prioritize, of course, provisioning, right? Because here you can save 3 days, but only project estimate is 10 days. So that way you have to work on to each analyze the each projects, and that way you can go ahead with it. So these are some of the strategy you can plan it out and so on. So estimation is very important in order to uh, you know dealing with the toils. So many techniques which you have to apply. So this thing. Now, second function of SRE is managing the service level. So what is the service level? So as part of the service level, we have a three things. One is SLI, second one is SLO, third one is SLA. What is SLI? So if you remember, I have taught you so many monitoring tools actually. So we call it a one keyword which is called observability. So as part of the observability, you will capture lots of data points. What is the data points? So here, if you remember, some of the tools which I covered in the past, and again few more tools I will cover in this session SRE. For example, you want to do infrastructure monitoring, there are certain tools. You want to do the performance monitoring, there are certain tools. You want to do the log monitoring, there are certain tools. You want to do synthetic, you want to do the RAM, you want to do the browser. So these are the different types of monitoring you do, which is called observability, and we implement. And what it capture basically SLI. SLI is basically indicator. Using that you can assess the your many parameters of your reliability. So for example, CPU, number of traffic, error rate, the request response time, abdex score, and many more. Okay, so these are the things which is called SLI. So once you set up a complete observability solution, you will get a SLI. Based on the SLI, you will set up a SLO objective, but SLO you will set up not based on the SLI but based on the SLA what you have agreed with the customer. So SLA is basically agreement which you make with the customer, saying that okay, the error you should not have more than one in a month. For example, I'm just giving you a blunt example. So it should not be having more than one in a month, something like that. So yes, you have these are the things you have to manage it. So SLI, which you can get it, request, response, availability, latency, throughput, storage pipeline, and many more things. SLO, which you set it up with the help of SLA, which you signed up with your customer. So yeah, SLA, the agreement you make with your client or user. SLOs, the objective your team must meet to that agreement, and SLI, the real number on your performance. So these are the things. So yeah, your job is to maintain the SLOs at any given period of time. So that is something which you have to maintain it. Now SLOs can be different, depends on the what kind of SLIs you have it, and you have to always maintain it. So if you look at this SLA is let's say 300, so SLO is 200, and make sure that SLO is below the SLAs, and SLOs should never exceed it. So if SLO is exceeded, your team is in trouble actually. So that is something which you have to take care of it. Okay, you have to also work on the error budgeting. That means you should not have a number of errors in a month or something like that. So that kind of SLO you will set up a target and so on. Okay, so whatever that you agree, you have to support accordingly. You have to make it system reliable and so on. So I would like to show you this slides, very interesting. Make sure whatever you commit, you assess properly. Okay, so now let's say if you commit for 99.999%, that means if any issues are there, you have only 0.4 minutes, which is close to 24 seconds to fix in a month. I must remind you. Okay, so please assess this one, whatever you commit. If you commit for 99%, that means in a month you have a 403 minutes, which is close to 7 hours in a month, 28 days. So make sure that you assess before committing the SLO. Are you understanding the slides?
Yes.
Okay, so here's some of the techniques. I'm just ignoring it. Now you need to set up a observability. Okay, I have told you already multiple times, observability means if you see the data types in between, metrics, event, logs, and tracing. So observability means infrastructure monitoring, you get a metrics. Second one, performance monitoring, you get a tracing. Log management, you get a logs, events as a part of the infrastructure. Synthetic, you get a tracing. RAM, you get a tracing. So these are all things you get it, and then these kind of data types which you get it, which may be counter type of data and gauge, structure, non-structure. Now, but not only these data types you have to capture it, this is called observability, but also you have to work with the different types of alerting. And nowadays there's one alerting concept which is becoming very popular, which you call it a golden signal. So as part of the golden signal alerts, you have to monitor latency, traffic, errors, and saturation. So these are the things you have to monitor. Now, which are the other part of the system you need to build? So data collections you have to build, data storage, visualization, analytics, reporting, alerting, push and pull based. Nowadays, let's say if I say if you're going for the paid software like Datadog, Neuralink and all, so they have everything inbuilt. You don't need to take care of any of these things except the data collections. But let's say if you want to decide you want to develop your own setup like Prometheus, Grafana, open source and all, ELK. So then you have to do it, manage it, storage also, visualization also, analytics also, reporting also, alerting, everything you have to take care of your own. So it depends on what kind of platform you're using for it. Okay, so yeah, four golden signals, which include latency, traffic, errors, and saturations. So this you should, whenever you try to implement the alerting solution, you must try to implement four golden signals. Okay, so something is a part of Prometheus. I'll just ignore it.
Maharaj, are we recording this session?
Yes, yes. Okay. So now third important pillar of SRE. So first one we discuss is like a 12 management. Second one is like service level, SLI, SLO, SLS. And third one is like incident management. So in incident management, you have on-call and post-mortem. On-call means many times you must be hearing this L1, L2 and all kind of things. We set up right multiple teams for on-call. So we have on-call and post-mortem. So any issues which you have reported in the infrastructure or operations, you have to manage this incident. So that's called on-call, and for that you have to have a very comprehensive monitoring, alerting tools and stuff like that. Okay, so yeah, on call, you need to be alerted on SLOs, acknowledge alerts, begin investigation, timely response, business critical within 5 minutes, urgent within 30 minutes, major commitment, no social engagement, sleep deprivation may happen if someone is putting on call odd hours, and stress may come. So you have to manage those issues in the teams also. So you have need to control, coordinate, and communicate. So typically, you know what happens? Every teams they have some kind of organization structure for managing the incident. So typically, we call it a ops lead, communication lead, incident commander, and so on. So these are the roles which has been created in incident management team, and they will take care of all this incident reported. Also, you need to find out whether it's an incident or not. So you need to have a standard response, uh, rollout playbook. You need to have some sort of places where you have a historical places where whether incident has been reported already earlier, and some uh, proactive actions has been taken or not, and threat criteria, investigate time, impact, and so on. Okay, so as part of this phases, if you say IC should be appointed, OL in continues in investigation, commanders lead appointed, incident doc issued, then OL adds more investigators and incident doc updates. So whenever you get any incident, these are the typical phases which you follow in the production. Okay, so these are the roles we have. OL means ops lead, CL means comms lead, IC means incident commander, and so on. So these are the people work together and make it happen. Okay, so how do we effectively manage the incident? So typically we have a 5 model to manage the incident. The first model is triage, second one is examine, third one is diagnosed, fourth one is test, and fifth one is cure. So these are the 5 phases for any incident which we follow. So triage means first you try to get back to good enough as soon as possible, and after that you start working on the examinations, diagnose, test, and cure. So some of the remediation tactics and output you can use it for this. Examination, understand the problem, identify the triggers, and after that diagnose the problem, whatever the find out the possible cause, and after that do the testing, identify the probable cause, and then find out the cure, fix the problem, and document the solution. So these are the 5 stage of incident management what we do. So triage, examine, diagnose, test, and cure. Okay, so now once the you have come up with the cure, you need to produce the post-mortem documents. That is something which you have to do in this format. I mean, this is the Google supported format, but again, nowadays we are using so many tools actually, like a Jira, Confluence, ServiceNow, and many other tools. So that the tools itself has a built functionality already. So you don't have to struggle for that. But yeah, it's good to know if you're let's say start if you're uh, implementing the SRE practices from scratch in your organization, then you must be knowing actually. So you should be knowing then, so you can recommend to your team actually. So likewise. So these are some of the stuff which is not important. Okay. So guys, this is the SRE. So let me sum up the stuff as part of it. So SRE is an approach which helps you to evolve the operations team toward SRE team, which helps you to bring some of the integration with the development team better. So you can work with the development team better, and then you can plan your work effectively. And when you do the planning, you must be doing the 3 areas of work. One is like a 12 management. Second one is managing the SLOs, SLIs, SLAs, and setting up observability. And third one is if any incident comes, you have to manage those incident and then follow the incident phases and then come up with a postmortem. So these are the few things which we do. And once if you are doing all this work as per the planned discussion, then you can say you are not an ops team anymore, you are a SRE. Are you good with it? Any questions, any doubts?